Yo, yo, yo.
Hey, we are continuing on with our series on coaching clients with the different temperaments. So if you're a coach, you're a mentor, you're in some formative role helping people to better their lives and conform their lives to the life that Christ has for them, you want to pay attention here, because if you're not being attentive to their temperament, then all your work may be falling flat. Okay, we want to help you be more effective with your clients, mentees, and people that you're forming.
Today we're talking about the sanguine, and this is like where all my worlds collide. I'm talking to coaches who I love forming. I'm talking about temperaments, and we're talking about sanguines.
Yay.
So I'm going to be talking a lot this episode.
So much fun. Your stomach's even talking right now.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
We will see you in there.
Bye.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Catholic Coaching Podcast. My name is Matt.
And I'm Erin.
We are your Catholic coaches for the day, and we are talking to Catholic coaches, mentors, and formators. Folks, if you are not considering the temperament of the person in front of you, you're not going to be as effective in your role as a coach, a mentor, or a formator. Conversely, though, if you can understand the disposition, the temperament of the person in front of you, you're going to be able to go deeper, faster, and just be so much more effective in that relationship because you are speaking their language. And so that's what this series is all about. We did choleric last week. Now we're going to talk about the sanguine clients, coaching the sanguine clients, do's and don'ts.
Yep. We're going to really focus on this. And guys, I am so excited. We decided to finally speak to you all. And I just love this combination of taking temperaments and coaching and just giving you all this value ahead of time. So we are talking about coaching the sanguine client. Let's get right into it.
Yeah. Well, I've been talking to a lot of our coaches recently, and the most important thing I know that we do, I've been sharing with, I'm just deeply convicted on this. The most important thing that we do at Metanoia Catholic is we train and coach other Catholic coaches. We need to address the poverty of well-formed formators and be able to go out there and be that relational ministry that the church needs right now, because we've had a lot of great intellectual formation. We need the intellectual formation, but we need that relational formation component that's out there. And there are skills, real life skills that you need to have to be effective in that relational ministry. And if you're just kind of figuring it out along the way, it's going to take you a lot longer. You may be missing the mark. We want to help you get there faster. And so that's what this podcast series is all about.
Yeah. And we've also linked our temperament assessment. So if your clients don't know their temperament, or if you don't know their temperament, you can have them take it. So it's going to be a little bit more helpful and useful to apply all this information when you know your client's temperaments.
Okay,
Let's
sanguines.
start with number one.
Yes.
And we're going to start with the don'ts because we want to end on a good note. End on the
don'ts
do's.
and the do's. And Erin, you're the resident sanguine here on the podcast today. So you're going to be able to speak to, I like this, and you did a lot of the notes. So let's do it. Fellow sanguine.
Yes.
Not
Okay.
fellow sanguine.
So number one, the first don't is don't be too rigid or serious. So if you're working with a sanguine client, don't be too rigid or serious. Part of this is sanguines, they do pick up on emotions for others. They are kind of like chameleons a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So if they see you being too rigid or serious, they will think, oh, this is what this relationship's about. I have to be rigid and serious. And that is opposite of who they are. They're going to feel uncomfortable and probably stop coming to you. But also this is triggering triggering their trigger of boredom. They don't like to be bored. So kind of bring in some more, just loosen the reins a little bit. They like it when you are free and yourself with them.
Yeah. When I'm working with sanguine clients, I'll leave some room in the front end to just connect and just kind of do some small talk in the beginning. For my choleric clients, I go right into it. Like, let's get right into business here.
So for sanguines, you know that they need some kind of processing and connection.
Yeah, they need some connection, and oftentimes they're going to be external processors, and so creating a little bit of space for that is going to be important. And Yeah,
and keeping things a little more dynamic and spontaneous. You can do that with different coaching questions, or you could just, when you see something in the person and they like have a reaction, a sanguine has a reaction of some way, like you can pause and just dig in a little bit deeper and be like, tell me more about
what
that.
came up here?
Yeah. Tell me more about that. So that's kind of like a way of being spontaneous. You don't have to change your personality if you're not a spontaneous person, but you can be when you're trained as a coach and you know what questions to ask and what to look for. All right. Number 2, don't overwhelm them with details. Okay. Sanguines can lose focus if bogged down with too many facts or deep analysis on anything. This is totally me. This is a reason why I do not play pickleball. I like playing pickleball. I like the action of it. It's very fun. But there are too many rules and they're confusing and complicated. I mean, I know that's a thought of mine, but I'm still like, why are the rules so hard? Just make it like ping pong.
Why is it called a kitchen?
Yes. Like, oh, it's so weird. Anyway, this is why I don't play pickleball. And you could take that same little message that I just gave you that seemed like a tantrum or tangent, not a tantrum, a little bit of a tantrum, and apply it to coaching. So our jobs as coaches is to help the client's life be simpler and less complicated, not more complicated. So something that you can ask yourself, if you're finding that they're getting that glazed over look in their eyes, or if you're finding that they're getting distracted, you could ask yourself, are these details that I am sharing absolutely necessary and relevant to what they need to know right now? I remember Father Joseph actually giving us that information, giving us that feedback when he looked at some of our trainings. Is like, it's always helpful to ask yourself, is this relevant? Like, are you just giving information just without any type of filter, like just fire hosing people with information because you think it's relevant? A great question to ask yourself, just as a coach and a teacher, are these details relevant to where they want to go, not to what I want to do? So, number 3, don't ignore their need for interaction. This is exactly what you were saying. So sanguines process externally and love to talk through things. Let them express their thoughts and don't shut down their enthusiasm.
Yeah, I think just knowing that when I'm working with a sanguine, that I'm talking less, right? And just creating some space for them. But I'm also lending my choleric gift of focusing with the questions that I ask, and even just kind of like pausing. And so I find that with sanguines, I will interrupt a little bit more.
And I want to speak to that actually.
Yeah. It's just because there's often a lack of focus, right? And just kind of wanting to go different directions. And so the gift that I can give in the coaching session is lending a little bit of focus.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't say all sanguines or whatever. I wouldn't even put a percentage on this. Sanguines that I have coached have enough self-awareness to know that they talk a lot. And so when you do interrupt them, this is what I actually suggest to every coach. If you have an external processor, so that could be a choleric or a sanguine, or even sometimes melancholics and phlegmatics. When you finally give them a space to talk, they take that. When you want to interrupt them in a kind way, and obviously you want this to be intentional and not just made up in a script that you're saying, but you want to say something like, hey, do you mind if I just interrupt you real quick? I heard something and I want to ask you a little bit more questions about that. Or I want to lean into this a little bit more. Or I think this would be really fruitful for us to focus on. Do you mind if we do that right now? And then I'm going to ask you a couple other questions just to take that a little bit deeper. You are giving them leadership of what they need. You are giving them some focus. You're also telling them, I have been listening to you. Right? You're not just being like, go ahead, externally process all over me and not focusing. Like, I've been listening to you and I want to pause right here and just like, I don't think I need any more information on this. And I will ask you if I do, you know, but that's kind of like that leadership. Because that question always comes up. Whenever I'm training coaches, they always go, how do you kindly interrupt people?
Yeah. I love this next one. Number 4, don't expect immediate follow through without accountability.
Yes.
And that's just kind of recognizing the nature. They're not necessarily strong finishers.
No, I would say opposite. They are not I mean, there's some that are really great finishers, and that's usually their secondary.
There's always, whenever we're
client.
talking temperaments, we're talking like it's broad strokes,
Yes.
mass generalizations, the common themes that you're going to find
Yes.
across people. But we're all uniquely designed, and so if shoe fits, wear it. But commonly, you're going to find that sanguines are going to need to have that accountability a little bit more, especially if they're doing something that's going to be uncomfortable, right?
Yes.
Because nobody likes discomfort. Sanguines really hate discomfort.
Well, they really hate it, and they also hate letting people down. So if there are some accountability check-ins where it's like, I know I'm going to meet this person at this time and that I will have had to do this thing, you know, I think that actually you could work with them in that capacity. Like, so before next time we meet, even if it's that morning before we meet, I want you to do your thought work on this, or whatever, whatever it is that you're working with them on. Just make it simple, make it like, also use words like hacks. They like things simple. They like things like here's a hack for you. Here's a way of getting there quicker. So I think also, one thing that I have implemented in my own life that I think is very helpful for sanguines is habit stacking. So picking a habit that you already do and then setting an alarm on your phone. Oh, remember to do this other thing as well. Or do this thing before you do this other thing. So one thing that I'm doing for Lent is I'm journaling every night, even if it's just for 5 minutes, it's some type of prayer, like free form prayer. And that's how I do it, is journaling. And I know now, cause I will go on the couch and I will fold laundry. I know now that I do that before I do that. Like, it's like, that is the nighttime routine that I'm hacking this nighttime routine now. So I'm starting to put that in habit stacking. It's an example of habit stacking. Also, another example of habit stacking is do this one thing. Maybe it's listening to a podcast or listening to some information while you are also doing something fun, you know, or you're like listening to music while you're doing this particular thing, whatever. That word fun is actually very highly motivating for a sanguine. So, give them permission to make things fun. They're really good at it and they like doing it, and then they'll like doing it more.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious about this one, Erin. You have down, don't focus solely on internal reflection, number 5.
Yes. Yeah. So, while introspection is important for coaching, for sure, too much quiet reflection will, like, they'll lose interest, or they'll be distracted, or they'll be like, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm focusing on right now. So you want to balance that, that internal reflection, that quiet time, with some type of
social
interaction, some type of even movement if you can. I mean, I think a great example of this is our workshops.
Okay.
So our workshops, when we do our temperaments workshops, we do leave quiet internal reflection time. We have to, because they're looking at the list of their temperaments and they're looking, okay, which one is my contributions? And so there is that time, but then it's followed by interaction. It's followed
sharing time.
It's followed by, so, and it's kind of like, if you want percentages, if you're coaching a sanguine, you would want most of the time to be like 80% of the time to be relational and interactive in a coaching call.
Yeah.
And then maybe like 20% is internal reflection, is pausing. And you can up that a little bit. You can inch your way upward, but you got to teach them how to do that internal reflection.
Okay.
I appreciate it being taught.
Can I throw in a bonus one here?
Yes, please.
A bonus 6. This is something that I've picked up upon when coaching sanguines. Don't spend excessive time on the negatives.
Oh,
like, I think this is like a huge one.
I would say this is like number 1.
This is like,
probably.
It's like, so the sanguines are typically very positive, very hopeful people. And because they have that disposition, there is just a natural aversion to negative, to focus on the negative. When I remember training our coaches and finding that, you know, it's part of the reason cycle that we train our coaches on is getting them to reflect on the outcomes and the behaviors of their thought life that they don't really want. Because if we want to change, there needs to be some sort of a motivating emotion. And that motivation could be desire or aversion. Desire, I move towards something. Aversion, I move away from something. So both of those are motivating emotions. I as a choleric, I have no problem building up that aversion in my clients by just kind of like being like, okay, look at this over here. This really sucks, right?
Which
like,
is
you
very
really
like,
want this.
That's very compelling for a cleric.
So yeah, it's like super inefficient. Like, but also if you're gonna do that, I think a good way of focusing, building that aversion is on how it's impacting the relationships. Right?
Yes.
Because we don't want them to just feel sad for the sake of feeling sad. Melancholics might be able to dwell in that a little bit more. And it's just kind of a normal disposition for them. Even cholerics, it's like, oh, okay, like when there's always hope. So the negative, that's whenever you're presenting the negative, you don't want to stay too long there. You always want to pivot to hope as quickly as possible, while at the same time capturing the negative experience that they don't want to continue. Because a little bit of aversion can be helpful, but they're really propelled more by desire and that hope. And so that desire emotion will get them to action arguably faster than the aversion.
I saw this in my own life, even just like changing habits. It's like little wins, reflecting on little wins and little successes is fuel for action. The minute I start to feel discouraged, I just give up. Because it's so much easier to just give in to the habit that you're trying to like change. But when you go, hold on, I mean, there were this many times I didn't like overeat or overdrink or whatever, like this past week, like, wow, that's actually really great. So it's very motivating.
Yeah. Calling their attention to those desires, because sanguines have big desires. They have lots of desires. Can be super helpful. And being able to pause and say like, okay, we kind of moved towards this desire a little bit, or there was something here. Celebrating those things is going to be very helpful. So with desire, all right, there's also a lot of people desire to have greater purpose in their life.
Yes.
Okay? And so we're actually, if that's you and you like helping people to find greater purpose in their life, you're going to want to check out our Catholic Coaching Masterclass. It's going April 28th to May 2nd. It's going to be 5 full days, not full days, but hour and a half every single day. And we're going to be helping you to develop some skills to help people get in touch with their God-given identity, but also their mission here as well, which is a big part of what we do at Metanoia Catholic.
Yeah. You're going to walk away with like so many things that you can use today or that day, not today.
Yeah. So the very process that we're going to take you through, like that's going to be packaged up nice, and you can just hand that off to you. There's going to be a couple of worksheets that you can go through, even this beautiful discernment guide that you have. I'm really excited there. That's like a quick guide hack to getting deep in the conversations with people and helping them to really be students of what's going on in their interior life. Absolutely essential if we're going to be helping people identify their God-given mission and identity here, because we need more people on mission in our church.
And we're going to take you all through it first, because that's our big thing that we always say. You cannot give first. You can't give what you haven't first received, so you got to go first. So you get to reap the benefits of it. You also get to walk away with some really great skills that you can use immediately. And it's only $25. So go actually reserve your seat right now. Okay, let's get back to the sanguines.
And you can do that by clicking into the show notes or go to CatholicCoaching.com. It'll be in the top banner bar and you'll be able to sign up there.
All right.
All right, let's do the do's.
What do we do? What do we do? For when we coach sanguines. Okay. I think it's very helpful to know some of the values that sanguines uphold, right? It's like fun, excitement, joy,
hope,
desire, hope,
positivity.
Yes. And so as we are applying these things to actually enter into that beautiful place, that beautiful sanguine life, which I know I love being a sanguine so much. It's like one of my favorite. It is my favorite temperament. Thank you, Lord. Okay. Anyway.
It's a great gift to our family.
Number 1, what do? Be enthusiastic and engaging. And sometimes it's not that simple to just be that way, you know? But first of all, okay, so sanguines thrive on energy and positivity. So you want to keep sessions lively, interactive, and filled with encouragement. Most people can like be more encouraging. I don't want to say like, oh, you have to change your entire temperament. Like you can actually just be like, great job. Like that. That's how easy that is to be encouraging.
Affirmations. Yes.
Affirmations. Making things interactive and asking, hey, how is that landing for you? How do you see this? Like actually engaging them in the coaching session is easy for most people to do too. You don't have to change your personality here. But if you are not an enthusiastic person, that's okay. Don't fake it. We're like really big fans of like just being you and not faking things. But you can ask them engaging questions and show interest with enthusiasm. So, hey, oh gosh, tell me a little bit more about what you just said, because I noticed you got really excited about that. So can you just like, can I ask a little more questions around that? And that's it. Anything you want to add to this?
Be interested in their enthusiasm.
Yes.
I like that.
You can be interested in their enthusiasm. You can be enthusiastic about their enthusiasm. Or if you're not an enthusiastic person, you can just at least engage their enthusiasm.
Yeah. And there is a skill. It is, I know it's like, don't change who you are, but like, and
there's skill development.
There's real skill development of being able to just mirror somebody's energy in front of you, right? And so people like people who are like them, and they trust people who are like them, and they have rapport established with people who are like them.
Yes.
And so sanguines are really good at the chameleon, right? Which is often why they get this bad rep of being shallow or aloof.
But they're also incredibly influencing.
They're very good at being engaging and hospitable. Okay, so just getting in the habit of matching the energy level of the person in front of me. This is even something that they taught me over at Divine Mercy University in our spiritual direction.
Yes.
Is really to match the person in front of you, because it creates that rapport, and the rapport is going to create the trust that's essential to that coaching relationship.
We actually train people in one of our trainings coming out.
Yes,
one of our coach trainings coming out, we will train you how to do this. So if you want to learn more about that, come to that Catholic Coach Masterclass.
Yes.
Okay. Number 2, incorporate stories and experiences. So sanguines connect deeply with narrative and personal examples, use storytelling to illustrate concepts and make ideas memorable. I remember finally having permission, because the way that I was trained was like very much like hold the space and very rigid in holding the space. And I remember being in my coach training and being like, I was coaching somebody in front of everybody else, and it was like in our student-led groups. So there was no instructor, there was just all students. They were giving me feedback, and I was like, oh, did I like not hold the space? Did I like jump in the pool with it? Which is coach language, which like you're just agreeing with their story. And they were like, no, actually you gave an anecdote of how you can relate to them, which I think drew them out of themselves more. And I was like, oh my gosh, so I can use story. But I think this concept of storytelling is for every temperament. Every human loves story. And for you to even just relate to the person in front of you, be like, I totally can understand where you're coming from. I experience this. But here's the distinction. You don't go into just talking about you for like the next 5 minutes. That is not what this is about. That's not what the time is about. But you can say, I can understand this. I experienced this when I lost my mom or something like that. And that's it. That's kind of the extent of it. But that draws the person out of themselves, and you're experiencing, they are starting to trust you more because it's building rapport. And also there is a distinction between, like using anecdotes and then story fondling, which is a term that I use. Story fondling. I think the first time I ever heard it was Jody Moore. She was one of our trainers over at the Life Coach School, but that's something where you're like totally agreeing with their story. You're actually enhancing their story. Oh yeah, I know. And you know who else does this? Like you're kind of piling on more evidence to support their narrative. We don't want to do that either. So there is a balance here. Or it's like, hey, I relate to you, and no story fondling.
Yeah. So it's using stories for connection.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. And also I think when you start telling stories, that actually, it's a dual approach. You can actually start to build your marketing messaging when you start using the same stories over and over again. That's just something that I have found. Okay. Number 3, give variety and flexibility. So sanguines get bored easily. So mix up your coaching methods, use different activities, discussions, creative approaches, and keep them engaged. Now, you might be thinking, geez, these people are like, I don't know, like little kids who are like, perform for me, clown, like who always need to be engaged. But I think actually all of the solutions to these suggestions or the strategies that we're suggesting, I think across the board will just make you a better coach. So if you are struggling with this, like coming up with engaging ideas and like, I'm just not that person who can come up with these engaging ideas and like constantly be like, entertaining these people. If that is what you're thinking, you can ask them, say, hey, is there any coaching method or technique that we've used in the past that really worked for you, that you really enjoyed, that you felt like really helped you connect with the goal and, the movement, the actions that you need to take towards that? You can ask them. Or you could even ask them for their feedback. Hey, I'm taking some feedback from all of my sanguine clients and I'm trying to make things more engaging and fun. What would your suggestions be? They're really good at making things fun and engaging. And
having lots of ideas.
Yes. And incorporating them into the mix. So those are some of my suggestions for that. Number 4, do emphasize people and relationships. You suggested this earlier, but I'm going to go into a little bit deeper here. Help them see how their growth impacts their relationships and their community. They are highly motivated by social connection and affirmation. Anything you want to add to that, Matt?
Nope.
Yeah. So just kind of directing their focus to, hey, how has this worked so far? Working with me, working in coaching on this particular topic, how has it impacted your family? How have you showed up differently? How are you connecting with these people? Are you connecting with them differently? Are you sticking around? Are you being more consistent in this relationship? Just some of those questions.
So framing success in terms of like how it's impacting your relationships.
I'm going to add one more thing to this too. Framing their success and how it is actually impacting their relationships. That's definitely very highly motivating, but also improving their lives. It sounds very general, but like even just using that language, how has this improved your life? How has this improved your daily satisfaction in your life? I think that is something that's highly motivating as well.
Yeah, you're helping them to actually talked earlier about the importance of incorporating stories. You can kind of combine these two do's and just help them to craft a better narrative for their life.
I love that.
Yeah, and so it's like, what is really the story that the Lord is writing with you here as you're growing in this relationship? The stories that we tell them, people, we live our life based on the stories that we're constantly telling ourselves, and those stories can either be speaking blessing or curse over ourselves. And so helping them to really get clear on that blessing story that is unfolding through the relationship is going to be very helpful to keep them engaged. And I don't think they'll get bored with that.
I love that. And even just framing it as a story or an adventure story, like what would the genre be of your story if you could choose? An adventure story, a comedy, But I do think I like how you frame that with story work for the sanguines. Generally speaking, probably for everybody though, because it does encapsulate what mindset coaching does. And mindset coaching is you are rewriting a story. You're reframing these narratives that are not working for you at all, that are not getting you to the goals that you want to achieve.
Yeah. So. And Catholic mindset coaching is you're not just rewriting a story, you are co-authoring a story. with God, right? And in a lot of ways, if you're not co-authoring with God, you're co-authoring with the enemy. And so either way, you're going to be a co-author, whether you're co-authoring with the world, the flesh, other influencers that are out there, people that are not necessarily, of the mind of Christ, or you're going to be conforming your story with the mind of Christ. And you get to pick your co-author always.
Well, can I share like a really brief story?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this morning I was actually I was self-coaching. I was doing my journal, and our journal ends in prayer. It's like, the point, the metanoia point. And in prayer, I realized, okay, so I was working on, I have so many things to do. I have so many things to create. I'm creating a lot of different things, and I'm editing things. So it really demands a lot of focus. And the thought was, I just want to be done with these things. And the Lord was just like, to do what? Like, what are you going to do after? Like, why are we rushing through this? Which is great self-reflection, but also the Lord invited me into this creative process. I mean, like, he just brought me back to those moments when I really was very intentional about co-creating with him. I was so much more efficient in it. I was like quicker at it, but also it was a beautiful prayer moment. And I'm going to take that example and apply it to the stories, how we tell our lives. So
beautiful.
Anyway. Okay. Number 5.
Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome. Number 5, celebrate progress often. We talked about this earlier, but sanguines really love recognition. They don't like asking for it though, because they feel like boastful or whatever. But like, even just recognizing these small little things, they love recognition and encouragement. So acknowledge their wins, no matter how small. And that is key right there. It doesn't matter how small. In fact, you can make a game out of it, which they would love. If you made a game out of it, it's like, the name of the game is to look back over the week and count every single win, every single time you said no to this particular thing where you knew you needed to say yes to this thing over here. Every single time, whatever. You can make the game out of whatever their goal is or whatever you're working on them with. But just be like, and there's no win that is too small. I think there is something that's very hopeful and fun about that.
Yeah,
for the client.
It's very much part of the culture of Metanoia Catholic. We do a weekly wins call with our internal team, with our resident faculty, and it's just a hour of our week where we're talking about those wins. And as a remote workforce, it's really helpful to kind of connect together and celebrate those wins. But in our academy also, we have our Wednesday.
Yes.
Every Wednesday is a Wednesday, and we throw a prompt out there for people to be able to share some growth and some wins. That is like building the habit of that, which is why I love our journal. Plug for the journal here, folks. The Metanoia Catholic Journal it's a super powerful resource. That exercise 1 is celebrating successes, and you're looking at the beautiful freedom that comes with choosing to define what success looks like, no matter how small it is. You're using your freedom well to enter into that growth story, you're choosing Christ as your co-author at that moment. But super powerful resource. If you want to just start being more intentional about living in that, what we call the called story, where Christ is calling you by name and you are co-authoring that story with Christ, grab the journal here, folks. Again, CatholicCoaching.com, go to the shop and pick up that journal, start putting it to work for you.
And come to our Catholic Coach Masterclass.
Yeah, that's going to be a blast.
All right, guys, that's all we have for you today. We're talking about sanguines. Next week, we will be talking about melancholics, do's and don'ts with the melancholic client. So if you're a coach, if you're a formator, if you're a mentor, if you're anybody who's accompanying people in the Catholic walk, frontline formator, this is for you.
Yeah, whack that subscribe button, get the notifications. We will see you next week. Hey, thanks for sticking with us in the Catholic Coaching Podcast. If you like what you heard,
please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again.